Today I'm meeting with Raul Betancourt, one of my former students in ESL reading. Welcome, Raul. So good to have you here. Exciting. He's a bit nervous, y'all.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take it easy on him today. We're gonna go off the cuff and just speak whatever is on our minds. We're gonna just go off the cuff. I got some feedback from one of my subscribers who said that I never told the listening audience who I was and what I do or whatever. So, as I said before, my name is Vivian Green. I teach ESL reading at one of the local high schools here in town. I've been teaching ESL reading for the past 7 years. I come from a background of reading. I have a master's degree in as a reading specialist, and in 2014, I decided to resign from my general ed job as a reading teacher, and at that time, I wanted to move back to New York to be with my family over there, and so that's what I did. I resigned from my previous district where I worked, and I packed up, sold my house, everything, packed my son up, and we moved back to New York. That didn't last too long, that move. We spent like 3 months in New York, and I decided, this is not for me. My son hated it, first of all, and we just weren't, it just wasn't working out being there. And so we came back to Texas at the end of the year, November 2014. So we lasted, like I said, 3 months in New York. I mean, I had lived there prior, and I thought that going back would be just the same as when I lived there previously, but that wasn't the case. So I came back to Texas at the end of 2014, like I said, and it was very difficult for me to find work as a teacher, believe it or not, in the area where I wanted to work. I went on interviews, couldn't find work, and so I started to substitute teach at that time. And so during my substitute teaching time at one particular school, they had an opening for ESL reading, actually. The teacher that they had before, I guess she had resigned, and so they were just looking for something like a long-term sub at the time because they couldn't find a teacher, and I was not certified in ESL at the time either. So they put me in the spot to cover as a long-term substitute until they could find someone permanent to take over the role. So this was coming up towards summer. Well, it was the fall of that year, and so I was in that position as the long-term substitute teacher going into the next year. The district director of ESL, she was visiting the school at one point, and I met with her and we talked about ESL. And I told her that I was interested in becoming an ESL teacher because I loved working with the kids that I was working with at that time. And so I guess she encouraged me to pursue that. And she told me if I was serious about it, then, she could possibly hire me on to be an ESL teacher. And so that's what led me to become an ESL teacher. I continued with those kids until the school year ended, and I sat for my ESL certification and was hired on at one of the high schools, like I said. And so this is where all of these students that I'm meeting with and interviewing, this is how this all came about. I love being an ESL teacher. I love my students when they come into my classroom, and I form relationships with them. And so when they leave high school, I want to still be in contact with them and have some form of relationship still with them. And so a lot of them I'm still in contact with via social media. I get to keep up with them. And so at some point, I believe during the pandemic, I was thinking about what could I do to pass this time while we're all stuck at home and, teaching from home and not being able to go anywhere, lockdown. And so I wanted to create an environment. I wanted to create some kind of platform where I could still be have a one-on-one relationship with my students. And so this is where this idea of having a conversation, a sit down with my students, this is where the idea was birthed. And voila, here we are today. I am, for the most part, not a big conversation person. I like to just sit back and internalize a lot. Believe it or not, I studied television and radio in college. That was my degree, and but I never used it, because, like I said, I'm not big on being in front of people and having conversations, and so I never used it. And because I am a nervous person in general, Raul is the same way, and so we are going to be doing this off the cuff and trying to get through it. Two nervous people, right?
Yes.
So welcome, Raul, to my sit down.
Thanks.